Good evening and welcome to this episode of History or Bust. I'm Jake Donoho alongside Teaghan Carter. Today we will be covering 4 unsung heroes from the American Revolution, the event where America found their independence. First up is Crispus Attucks, a whaler and sailor who was present at the Boston Massacre. Most information regarding his past is mysterious, but he was believed to be of African and Native American descent. It's believed that he had escaped from slavery, though even that is up to debate. He was also believed to be a whaler and a sailor.
The moments leading up to the Boston Massacre on March 5th, 1770, he was part of the group who were taunting the British soldiers as they marched by, before it escalated and shots were fired. He is considered to be the first person to be killed during the Boston Massacre, and thus the first American to die during the American Revolution. Paul Revere made sure to put Crispus in his famous Boston Massacre painting. His body was carried to Faneuil Hall, where it lay in state until March 8th, when all 5 victims were buried in a common grave.
This is a really interesting person in history. Now, not only is this a whaler and a sailor, just a sort of a random person who was just alive at the time of the American Revolution, but really kicked off a massive chain of events leading to America's independence.
Mm-hmm. And I really feel like it was almost unintentionally, because I think he was just angry because as a whaler and the sailor, he had some issues with the British already, just because they were already starting to just capture American ships and be like, all right, you're part of our army now. And he wasn't necessarily a fan of that. And he was also competing with British sailors who were not being paid very well and were going on American boats during like their off season. Basically they were having to fight each other to get a spot on these boats. So he just didn't like them already. But that I don't necessarily think he meant to start this whole revolution.
Definitely, I think maybe just some restlessness with the British. I mean, like we had said, he was just maybe throwing some garbage at him, throwing some rocks, and it escalated very quickly into what is now known as one of the biggest historical events in American history.
Absolutely.
Up next is Daniel Bissell. To the British, he defected to the British Army. He was actually a spy for George Washington. Bissell was of a rich and prominent, and Washington saw use of Bissell's intelligence and decided to hire him as a spy. His main secret mission was to pose as a deserter and both gather information on the British forces and spread false information about the Continental Army within New York.
He joined the American Legion within the British Army, which happened to be led by the traitor Benedict Arnolds. His mission was supposed to last 7 or 9 days. Instead, it lasted 13 months. So he spent 13 months behind enemy lines without being able to fight. He managed to escape in September of 1782. He reported all of the information he learned to Washington, and then Washington rewarded him with the Purple Heart.
This is another person in history that is really just overlooked, I think, definitely, just because being able to survive for so long behind enemy lines and stuff like that is really something that I don't think could be done today with all the technology that people have, thermal imaging and mapping and everything like that.
Absolutely, and being able to remember like 13 months worth of information to then provide it back to the American Army, and he wasn't allowed to take up arms against them. It would have been an offense worth killing him over if he actually fought against any American soldiers, because that was just super not allowed. So he had to spend 13 months working for the British Army while not actually taking part in any army type movements, just secretly collecting information and then being like, I can't fight now, I must go to the hospital. Which is literally what he did. They have record of him just being in the hospital, like constantly.
Definitely.
But I mean, if it helped him keep 13 months of information in his head, I guess it was worth it.
We'll be covering more History or Bust after this commercial break, including a sailor who came from a logging company and a woman who fought dressed as a man. We'll be right back.
What does it mean to be a war hawk?
It means allowing myself to dream big and think outside the box.
Pushing the limits of what I think is possible.
Seeing ideas through from start to finish.
Collaborating with professors and peers.
And seizing opportunities in the community to put my knowledge to use.
I'm studying abroad,
learning another language,
and listening to the stories of others.
I'm making lifelong friends and fearlessly sharing my gifts with the world.
As a war hawk, I stay balanced,
take great care of myself,
and get out of my comfort zone.
I refuse to let the past determine my future.
And I'm taking confident steps in the directions of my dreams.
Sometimes it doesn't make sense.
And other times it couldn't be more exciting.
but I will keep my goals in mind
and never quit.
Because
That's the Warhawk way.
The UC can get you connected to all your basic needs. Grab a coffee and a meal. Study by the fireplace. Bowl, play, and relax when you want a break from homework. The UC has much more to offer to Whitewater students. Go to the UC's website to see what's going on this week.
At the University Bookstore, we have an excellent selection of competitively priced books and classroom necessities for students. We have Warhawk gear ranging from athletic apparel to comfy sweatshirts the whole family can enjoy. The textbook rental service is also available for students to check out their required readings for class. You can also find and order books, apparel, and gift items from our online catalog, located at uwwhitewaterbookstore.com. The University Bookstore. We provide for your college experiences.
Welcome to Jitters Coffee House. Located on the first floor of the Wells Towers, Jitters is a student-run coffee lounge and offers a variety of coffee and ice cream-based drinks and is home to many entertaining programs, including live music, gamer trivia nights, and other performances. Coordinate your activity by emailing jitters@uww.edu. Jitters is completely run by volunteers who can earn service hours and even receive a free drink during their shift. Stop in tonight at Jitters Coffee House, where fun events and community come together.
Here at UWW, we put a lot of emphasis on shaping your involvement. Involvement helps you get to know more people with similar values and goals as yourself. The Student Involvement Office can help you get involved with organizations on campus, or we can help you start a brand new one. So what are you waiting for? It's time to shape your involvement at UWW. If you'd like to learn more, stop by UC 127 or contact us at involvement@uww.edu or call 262-472-6217.
Welcome back to History or Bust. Let's continue down the list. Next up is Jeremiah O'Brien, a sailor who helped win the first naval battle of the Revolutionary War. He was born in 1744 from Irish parents who owned a lumber business in Machias, Maine. One day, a British ship named the Margaretta demanded lumber from the town under the threat of bombardment from cannon fire. Unhappy with this, O'Brien and his 5 brothers, along with 30 other people, boarded a trading vessel named the Unity. They set out to capture the Margaretta with guns, axes, and swords. They managed to board the ship and overwhelm the British.
This battle is often considered the first time British colors were struck to those of the United States, even though the Continental Army did not exist at the time. Jeremiah later became the first captain in Massachusetts Naval Militia. Later, the U.S. has had 5 different ships named after Jeremiah, and there are 1 torpedo boat and 4 destroyers. This is a really interesting figure, just to say, like, with the naval battles, a lot of things that in history classes around schools that you don't hear much about. You hear a lot of the battles and stuff that go on, such as the Battle of Lexington and Concord and stuff like that, but really the naval battles you don't hear about too much.
Yeah, especially not during the American Revolutionary War. Like, they might have mentioned a couple in later wars, but even in modern wars, I haven't heard a lot of naval battles. So no, I did not know a single thing about Jeremiah O'Brien, even though he obviously pretty important person to our, American history as, one of the first naval commanders and being part of that first battle against the British.
Yeah, and definitely that brings into like being just that thing of the American Revolution that most of the people fighting against the British were just like common people, traders. Like you said, he was an Irish, just had a ship with his lumber on it and stuff like that, an Irish man, and really stepped up into the fight, taking what was rightfully his. And finally, our last figure is Deborah Sampson, a woman who managed to fight in the war Mulan style. She was the only woman to receive full military pension for participation in the American Army during the Revolutionary War. She did this because she was dressed as a man. She wore a linen wrap and straightened her full height to 5'9", which was a few inches taller than the average man back then. Her male identity was Robert Shirtliff, and she was assigned to a light infantry unit and partook in scouting, raids, and foraging excursions.
One time, she got shot twice in the thigh by a musket. Fearing her identity would be exposed, she removed one of the musket balls, but the other got stuck in her leg where it would remain for the rest of her life. She served for another 17 months before eventually being exposed due to her falling ill, and she was honorably discharged.
This is, once again, just one of those things, like we said before, Mulan style, you know, just like being a woman in the Revolutionary War, your options were definitely limited during the 1700s and stuff like that, and she really wanted to fight and take, what was hers for America, and she really found a way to do that.
Mm-hmm. And when they say Mulan style, they really meant it, because I remember in Mulan, the way that she kept her identity concealed was by wrapping like a linen strap around her chest over and over again. Same deal. I wonder if they got a little inspiration.
Definitely, that could be.
From our friend Deborah here. Because, that must have taken a lot of guts as well to pull a musket ball out of your leg on your own because you were that worried about being found out. You really just wanted to stay and, again, 17 more months in the Army to, do her due diligence for her country.
Definitely, and in the Revolutionary War, there was everything but medical attention, and proper medical attention. Absolutely. That is. Usually if you were to get, shot in the limb or something like that, that would just be off with it like that.
Yep.
But
good luck to your limb at that point.
Really takes guts to be able to pull a musket ball out of that. And that will do it today for today's episode of History or Bust. Come back next week to learn more about lesser known figures from iconic time periods. Until next time.